Hello everybody, we are here with your Fafnir guide. We'll be playing a little Fafnir support action. So we're going to be starting off with Guardian's Blessing, our tier 1 boots, 4 health potions, and a Hand of the Gods, as well as a tier 1 magic shell. Fafnir is probably one of the best supports in the game right now. He pairs really well in this auto attack meta that we're in, and he also does very well against the auto attack meta. So he's great offensively and defensively on both of those fronts, which is wonderful. Fafnir's passive, which we will talk about first, he's all about the gold, baby. He's got some endless greed. The endless greed means that he gains 2 bonus gold from all enemy kills and assists, including minions. So he gains gold extra fast. And while he has gold in his pockets, up to 1,000 gold, you will gain up to 25 magical and physical protections. So this little passive meter right here is that gold that's actually in your hand. And the more that goes up, the more of those protections you get, up to 25 of each. Fafnir just has an absolutely fan-freaking-tastic passive. Passive gold plus passive protections is really strong. For our first ability, we will be getting our level one. Level 1. This is also the ability that we will be maxing out first here on Fafnir support. This is going to be a line ability. Oh, we got to be careful against the Soul. Yeah, it's a little aggressive. That's a little aggressive to be playing like that against the Soul Capri. They've got way better lane clear. Oh, and a Nemesis. That's one way to start off the little Fafnir action. So our 1 is going to be a line-based ability. This will go through minions and stop on God's hit. If it hits a god, it will do the damage and it will stun them. And then from that location of the god hit, it will go ahead and slow them and everybody right around them for 20% for 3 seconds. All of these abilities also have a secondary that we will be talking about because of Fafnir's ultimate later on. Our ability that we're going to get at level 2 is our 3. This is the ability that you're going to probably max out last on Fafnir support. Depending on the exact game that you're in, you either max this out third or fourth, depending on the exact game. If you're playing a Fafnir more aggressively, you'll max this out after your ulti in your 1. If you're playing him more defensively, it'll be the last one that you rank up. So what this is this is a leap. This is a leap with a cone at the end of it. In your door form, they are going to go ahead and it's going to do damage and disarm enemies for 2 seconds. Disarm means that the enemy cannot auto attack. This is one of the reasons why Fafnir is so good right now in this meta against these auto attackers, because you can stop them from being able to play the game for a solid 2 seconds.
Take this jungle buff.
Cancel that.
I'm going to grab another point here in my 1 at level 3, and at level 4, I will get a point in my 2. So your job in the laning phase is you're basically just kind of throwing down your hammer at the wave. If you can throw down your hammer and hit the wave and the enemy gods at the same time, then that's all fine and dandy, but your priority should be on the wave before anything else to try to grab that clear. That is warded. So we had kind of an ugly early start to this one. Woojer got a little bit over aggressive. You can't really fight into a soul in the early game because of her passive. Pretty much right now, if you're not running a magical ADC, you've got to be pretty passive in the laning phase. Magical ADCs are just the best right now. So if you're not rocking a magical ADC, you just got to be very careful in the early stages of the laning phase. They're just so very strong. All right, we're going to back up. We're going to get Shoes of Focus and a couple of wards. Shoes of Focus going to allow us to use this crowd control that we have in our kit a lot more often on Fafnir. And of course, we're a support, so we're buying our wards on every single back. Don't have my Guardian's Blessing stacked yet, so I'm going to head back over to dual lane. Once I get my Guardian's Blessing more stacked, then I'm going to start rotating over to mid lane. So now we've got our second ability. Our second ability is a buff that we can either put on ourselves or others. We will most usually be putting this on our damage dealers, specifically auto attackers if you have them. So what it does is it gives you a small heal. It's a little self-heal, and it's going to give your ally bonus attack speed and bonus damage. So this is a viable buff to put on burst damage dealers as well, because it does give bonus damage. But for the most part, you're trying to put it on somebody that can utilize both of those effects really well. So gods like Woojer who have auto attack and ability based damage, that is a great little combo to use on your two. You can always throw it down on yourself as well, but that's more so if you're playing like a Fafnir solo or something. You won't throw it on yourself too much playing Fafnir support. Now finally here we have our ultimate. Our ultimate is a big fat circle. I'm gonna go ahead and just jump in and disarm the soul so he can't attack. Wait for this disapparate to end. Just gonna kind of start chasing him around. He's gonna try to throw down that slow. Wooler's gonna jump over the wall because he's a crazy kid. He's gonna try to get back to his Capri for the res, but he's gonna be dead before they are able to get that res off. So our ultimate is a giant circle. It's got a channel time. The good thing about this ability is while it does take you a little bit to transform into this ability, you are damage immune while transforming into your dragon. You cannot take any damage. It is an immunity frame. No different than something like Discordia Dash where you have those immunity frames. So you can use its ultimate to avoid something like a Kraken if you time it correctly. When you transform into your dragon form, a couple of things happen. One, you regain 200 mana, which is sweet. Your auto attacks become cone-based autos. Think Jormungandr, that's basically what your auto attacks turn into. And all three of your primary abilities also get changed. Those abilities will change into your one, will do more damage, and also becomes a protection debuff. Your one becomes, instead of being all burst damage on the hammer, it becomes some damage over time. And it'll do more damage overall. And it has that protection debuff. I'm gonna jump in here, use my shell, and pop my ultimate. So I can't take any damage during that transform animation. My two in this form on Fafnir, is still that buff. That's a bad fight. We gotta get out of this. That two is, I'm gonna try to give him a target if I can get close enough for him to jump to. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to. So your two becomes that, it's still that giant, it's still the buff, but it becomes an AoE. So instead of being a single target buff, it is going to be a full team buff. And finally, your three, which is normally a disarm in your Dwarf form, is going to turn into a stun in your dragon form, and it also becomes bleed damage instead of burst damage, and it does more damage overall. So standard little build here at the start. On our Fafnir, we're just going to be getting ourselves right into a Gauntlet of Thebes, going to give us a bunch of defenses from that. I recommend Gauntlet of Thebes on all of your supports right now. It's the one real defense item that has maintained its strength throughout this more damage-oriented meta that we are in right now. So our full ability leveling order on Fafnir for support is going to be 4, 1, 2, 3. That is going to be the level we're ordering it in. The reason why we don't level up our 3 before the 2 is because we actually get that max disarm stun duration without putting any points into it. All that increases on the 3 is the damage. Compared to the 1, it's increasing the damage, but it's also increasing things like the stun duration, which is really, really nice. So I'm going to hold my point here at level 8 to make sure I can max out my 1 and my ultimate. Gonna try to get some aggressive wards out here as well. Get a little top left ward. See if they've got a sentry there or not. Doesn't look like it. This team that we're running against is very auto attack based. So I want to get this shell ranked up as soon as I finish my feed. So we get those block stacks. I'm probably going to have a High to the Nemean line for myself this game. Probably a Witchblade to slow down their attack speed. I'm going to do everything I can to make their life harder on these auto attackers. For Fafnir, he actually doesn't have that many hard counters. I'm gonna use my ulti to try to immune some of this Rama snipe damage. Unfortunately, not able to immune all of the damage coming through from that Nemesis, but we do get the kill on the Nem by the end there, and that gives us enough gold to get our Gauntlet of Thebes, and I should be able to also rank up my shell by the time that I respawn. So Fafnir doesn't really have any hard counters. He works well into and against pretty much everybody. The only thing you have to be worried about sometimes is people that wait to use big ultimates after your transformation. So while you can use your turning into a dragon form to immune big damage ultis like a Ra or Poseidon, you also have to keep in mind that you're kind of a sitting duck there, and if they time it correctly, they can also just wait for it to be done and then use their ultimate on you, where you're just kind of sitting there and not moving. So it can be both a positive and a negative depending on the situation. I also want to mention that you are not damage immune when you are deforming out of your dragon form. Going into dragon form, damage immune. Coming out of it, you are not damage immune. But you can also deform out of your dragon whenever you want to. You have a time limit on this, 20 to 40 seconds, depending on the ranks in your ulti. But if you want to get out of it early, you can cancel yourself out of that ultimate by clicking your ulti again. Gods that we're really good against on Fafnir is going to be the current meta god. This is actually a great team for Fafnir to go against. Sol, Rama, Nemesis, all of these gods that are really dependent on auto attacks, whether they're mage, assassins, hunters, doesn't matter if they're dependent on auto attacks. This is kind of where Fafnir wants to be. Now, my composition on my actual team isn't super great for Fafnir. We don't have like a lot of auto attackers. We basically have Woojer. I like to pair him with more auto attackers when at all possible, which is usually pretty easy in this meta. I would say that they've got a much more standard meta comp for right now than we do. I'm gonna use my ulti to be able to immune this damage for now and jump over this wall, pop down my 2 for my heal, and then throw down the 1 for the stun there on the Nemesis. Gonna keep on backing up. I'm gonna back while I'm in my dragon form, and then as soon as I get to the base, I'm gonna click my ultimate again so I start deforming, so I don't waste any more time than I need to. I'm gonna go right into a Witchblade this game. This Witchblade is gonna give me some counter to their attack speed composition that they are running. And it's also going to give me a little bit of cooldown, which is nice, and some HP, and we like the HP in this meta. The attack speed ends up not really being relevant for us on Fafnir, but I need to get some anti-attack speed going as soon as possible to try to keep the boys alive in these fights. I'm going to have a legendary 1v1 with this Harpy. Wham, wham, wham. Another thing on Fafnir is that when your 2 is on somebody, you will get credit for everything that they do during that time. So what you can do to farm really efficiently on Fafnir is you can throw down your 2 on, like, say, your mid laner, like I did there on Ryzen, and then run over into the jungle. I still get credit for all of those minions that he was killing. I get the Thebe stacks, I get the gold, I get all of it, even though I wasn't standing within the normal XP range of them, which is very nice. Not going to be able to get that gold fury because Khepri's going to zone me out. So we're just going to go ahead and back it up. Right now, I'm just trying to get level 12 as fast as I can. Once I get level 12, I can back up and get my team a fully upgraded sprint to try to help them get away from some of these guys. Level 12 has been acquired. I'm going to back it up. I can buy sprint and upgrade it, and then I'm going to get a sentry ward to throw over on that fire giant. For Fafnir in team fights, your job is 2-pronged, depending on your team comp. With this team comp, I am our initiation. You can see nobody on our team really has that initiation capabilities. Kamazatsu and Daji can kind of dive in the back and then reset, but neither of them have a super hard initiation. So what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to jump into the back and initiate, get the fight started. As soon as I initiate, after that, I'm going to go into my dragon form and kind of come back onto peel duty like we're doing right now. So now I'm coming into the back line. I'm disarming this Rama so he can't do any damage. I'm throwing down my shell to give him those block stacks. I'm just trying to zone out this Rama as much as I can. And while I'm not going to be able to keep the Daji alive, we should be able to kill the Rama off that. So I kind of start off the fight by chasing, and then I work my way back to my back line to try to keep everybody alive. They have to put so much effort into that Daji, which allows us to end up winning the fight overall, grab a tower, all sorts of good stuff. So now I'm going to back up and go ahead and get that Witchblade. Give me that nice aura 20% attack speed debuff, which is going to help out so much against this team. So they've got mostly physical damage, Nike, Rama, and Nemesis, and then they've got a Soul and a Khepri. So really, one magical damage character. I'm gonna try to jump on this Soul to disarm him, just barely gonna miss off that, but we do force the Soul bead, which is quite nice. So I'm not gonna worry too much about magical defense this game. I'm gonna prioritize physical defense. And next up, I'm actually going to get a sovereignty for my team in order to give them some physical defense as well to help live through some of these boys. Looking at the back line, gonna go ahead and jump on and disarm this Nemesis. Throw down a little bonus damage on my Ryzen, sitting right here for the Khepri. Stun him, there goes his ulti. I'm gonna try to stand in front of this Rama and body block as much as I can. Still going in on this fight, looking for the disarm on Soul and Rama. Got them both. Gonna buff myself just because I can see myself get the heal. Stunning the Soul, and now I'm gonna start transferring into my ulti. Our Kamos goes a little bit deep by himself right there, and I'm just gonna jump over this wall to safety and maybe go take a gander at the oracles while we're over here. Ooh, just kidding. They're still shoving out in the mid lane. I'm going to reset off of this, and I'm going to come back and look for the Nike around the corner. That's going to be enough to get it. Throw down my Heavenly Agility. We can keep going for this. He rolled into this. I don't know if they know that he rolled in. I'm going to wait as long as I can to deform. Hopefully we just grab the kill, and we do. Sometimes you want to cancel out of your dragon form early in order to deform. So you can start using your dwarf abilities again. And sometimes you want to hold on to the very last second to see if you can grab that kill. What's up, Saul? I'm gonna try to just body block a little bit right here with my little dwarf body, a little bonus damage, little disarm right there onto Saul, and we grab ourselves another kill. Now we can back up right out of this. Do, 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 do. Everybody, let's run away. Now, all right. Now we're gonna start working on that soft for the team sovereignty. Gonna provide us with some If I could find Sovereign. Sovereignty. Savi boy, am I fried? Sovereign. I can't find it. I'm just gonna type it in. Buy a sentry reward. Sometimes your eyeballs don't work. You gotta type it in. Sovereignty will give us some physical defense, which is great, but it's also gonna give us some HP 5. 35 HP 5 is not something to be scoffed at. That's actually really nice for your team, especially when you're just like sitting around like little fire giant fights, you know, and nothing's really happening. You can just regen all the way back up to full. Crux is starting up this Gold Fury. I know that they can tank this and do this, so I'm gonna go zone right now. I'm looking at the Khepri. I'm not super worried about the Khepri himself. I'm actually worried about the rest of these guys. That's who I want to zone out more. So I'm zoning out the Rama and the Nem as much as I can, looking to the back line. My Daji is really low, so we probably shouldn't continue to fight this. We grabbed the Gold Fairy. That is a win for us. So I let the Khepri kind of slide by there because, like, if Khepri steals the Gold Fairy, we've got bigger problems. There's a much higher chance that, like, Rama or Nemesis or somebody was going to come in there and steal that than the old Khepri route.
During transformation.
Okay. We had a really hard early game, but we've been coming back quite good in these team fights, which, to be fair, is where Fafnir thrives. His ability to just stand in front of people and tank a lot of damage while also providing a lot of CC, and they're in a composition that we're quite good against. So normally our goals on Fafnir builds is a little bit more selfish, I would say. Normally you're looking for a little bit more stuff like a little bit more cooldown, maybe things like Stone of Binding, to give you, a little bit more pen and damage on that front. But this particular game, with the composition that they were running, I had to make sure that I switched up the build and got the counter build going for maximum efficiency for my team, especially because they were struggling just a little bit. And I wanted to make sure we could keep everybody alive in these fights. So now I'm going to stick around my Ryzen because he's taking some damage. Gonna try to keep Nike off him as much as I can. Unfortunately, he's going to be in trouble regardless. I'm going to get stun him off him, throwing down a shell. Give him a Heavenly so we can try to run out of here. Now I'm going to ulti, which is going to give this big AoE zone of no-go, hopefully. But they're not too afraid of that. See if I can't bait them to come away from some more important targets. Our Woojer is over shoving left lane by himself. He really should have been with us playing the objectives. All I'm doing right now is getting poke on Khepri. I don't want to get too greedy here because I'm about to deform. I might have gotten too greedy. So I'm going to deform right across this wall. See if I can't get out. No, I'm not going to be able to. The Rama came back too early on that one, and he's got a big fat build going with that Wind Demon pen. So now we're going to get ourselves into, once again, another anti-auto attack item. So I'm going to go into the hide of the Nemean Lion. They have started the Fire Giant. It's at about 25%. That's going to be a hard steal when you're inside of a Khepri pluck. So the big problem right there is our Woojer was split pushing, and he's also level 19. He's one of our biggest guys. He really should have been over in the team fight. If he would have been in that team fight for us, we would have had a very, very nice fight there going for us. We were basically winning every single team fight. In fact, now that he's over in the fight, even though they have Fire Giant, we're still kind of winning this team fight, which just kind of goes to show that our composition is good at that team fighting and that we should not be split pushing. With their Nemesis dead, we actually can probably look for something a little bit more aggressive. Like if their soul tries to come up and do like the oracles or something, we could probably sit around a corner and look for a gank. They might try to go do like left side purple buff or their red buff even.
What are they?
I'm just gonna sit here and wait. I'm gonna sit here around this corner. I warded their red buff. I'm gonna wait for somebody to try to come do it. Hi, Nike. We should really go look for the Rama. Have a little damage buff. I'm ulting. He has no dash on the Rom. That is his ultimate. I'm looking around the back line. Pop a Heavenly for the boys. Kepri is probably going to res him, so I'm going to stun Kepri so that way he can't use his res on the Rama. Hopefully that's enough to get us the kill. Throwing down the shell, trying to keep him alive, and unfortunately we're just not landing our damage abilities, unfortunately. Too many abilities missed in that team fight. Which is going to cost us those kills and that fight. Gotta land your abilities. That's the scariest part about being a support is you do have to rely on the rest of the team to hit their abilities, even if you do get them set up for it. So I'm going to stun the Nike off of Woojer right there so he can just kind of walk away. And then we can't defend on the tier 2, so we're going to let it go. And we might be able to come back and get a little Phoenix defense here, maybe distract him long enough for some of our boys to spawn. So all I'm trying to do here is distract. So I'm going to jump on Rama, give him that disarm in the back since he's going to be the majority of potential Phoenix damage. Trying to stand in front of him, tank as much as I can. I'm going to come back around, stand in front of him. This is going to get me wrecked, but keeping our Phoenix alive for as long as humanly possible. Soul's going to come around from the other side. I'm going to give a little stun, a little bonus damage onto Camazotz. See if we can disarm this Nike and help our boys. We do lose 2 Phoenixes off of that, but we get a couple of kills. And our Daji is going to be too far out there for us to get to. And now we're on that major defense life. So you can see the kind of process that we're going through in these team fights. Because of our composition with me being the only initiation, I go in, I initiate, I get some setup going, I burn some actives, I burn some beats. I do what I can, and then as soon as I'm done with my initiation, I immediately look towards the back line. I go, okay, now I'm in my dragon form. Let's give some people some bonus damage. Let's go ahead and peel the stun you off of you. Let's give you a Heavenly so you can run away. And that's just kind of your job on Fafnir. If you have a team better at initiating, maybe you've got a Thor in the jungle and you've got like a warrior or a guardian in solo, then you can even be more on straight peeling duty than I have been this game. Right now I kind of have to do a half and half because of our team comp. But if you were to have a more frontliney team comp, then you can even sit back and do a more pure defense oriented strategy. So as our last item here, I'm going to go into a Shoguns. Shoguns is going to give me another 10% CDR. So I'll be at 30%. It's also going to give me some aura attack speed for the team, which is going to help out some of the boys like Woojer and Daji. I am going to run in here and try to peel for our boy so Daji doesn't die, and we can try to have an actual defense on our last Phoenix. I think Camazot's teleported into that tower, which is not the dream. Rama's sniping, but there's no way he can get that kill, even if he hits all 3. So I'm not going to bother using any of my particular defense relics. And we will not contest this fire giant. We're just going to be playing it back and chilling. So one really cool thing about Shoguns on Fafnir is that not only is this going to give out 25% attack speed, but I can also give out with my 2 30%. So you are giving out a massive attack speed bump, and then if you combine that with the fact that I've got Witchblade and I'm reducing the enemy's attack speed, we have like a 70% attack speed swing inside of a team fight, which is really, really nice. And that, of course, doesn't factor in any of the other auras that we're giving off right now, like the physical magical defenses from Thebes, like the physical defense in the HP 5, on the Sovereignty. And so you're just providing so much utility to your team while also doing some decent damage. I should mention about Fafnir's abilities because a lot of people don't know this. Fafnir's abilities go through walls, and all of them. So Fafnir Hammer, that goes through walls. Your 2, you can use over a wall, you can jump over walls, and that maintains in your dragon form as well. Everything that you do goes through walls. Theoretically, even your circle here can get around a wall like this, where you can see it kind of the targeter going through. Everything that you do on Fafnir goes through walls. So don't be afraid to use your abilities through walls like that. They're pushing into this right side. Phoenix, we're just going to have the hardest defenses against this, but we're going to have to give it a shot. So I'm going to disarm this Nemesis in the back, get some bonus damage on Ryzen, throw down a Heavenly Agility for my Camazotz and a Shell for my Camazotz. He's coming in the back looking for Rama hard. Now I'm peeling in the back for my Ryzen, so I'm going to jump back here and stun. I'm going to stun again. We are going to be able to peel the Ryzen out of there, unfortunately. Camazotz will die for that. And now they're going to keep charging in on this fight. I'm going to stay in my dragon form because now it's lasting for 20 seconds. Throw down a little AoE damage buff. Look for a stun in the back line on that Rama. And now I got to try to run back into the fountain. I don't know if I'm going to make it inside. I will. I'm going to deform now inside the fountain so I can get my abilities back up and running. Looks like we're probably going to lose our Phoenixes again in left and in mid. Waiting to use my disarm on this soul until after she disapparates. I saw that he had used his beads. Having to run back now as well. We're trying so hard on this defense right now. So very hard. Ryzen's going in. He will grab the kill. I'll land the disarm, which will give him a moment to live. Our Fafnir hammer will go through that little wall. Hit the soul. And we got 3 Phoenixes down, but technically the game is not over. Although 3 Phoenixes down is about as hard as it can get. So we're going to pick up that Shogun's Kusari. I doubt we're going to be able to buy a 6th item this game. And now it's all about the defensive wards. Just throwing out the wards on the left and right hand side jungles to make sure you can counter wards like this that they place out. Now I gotta run over to the left lane because there is so many creeps. Unfortunately, unfortunately, but maybe also fortunately, all of our towers went down at the same time. And that's forever away. But if somehow we could win a fight when they were coming up, we'll get all of them up at the same time. And our Titan hadn't even taken that much damage, but it's gonna be very, very hard to stop another push. What we really need to do is we need to get left and mid pushed out, and then we can go look to contest them at Fire Giant and just go for a big fat fight at the Fire Giant, you know, and kind of risk it for the biscuit, so to speak. I'm gonna grab a red pot and a sentry ward. Sometimes you gotta go for a bit of a Hail Mary play. So I think we just literally all run over to the Fire Giant, and we just go for a big fat 5v5 fight. If we can win the fight, maybe we can back up and defend all of our Phoenixes in time. If not, you know, oh well, it is what it is. I'm gonna try to jump in here. Disarm, got the stun off. There's gonna be a Rama in the air looking for Woojer. A little damage buff on Dodgy, a little Shell, a little Heavenly, not quite enough yet. Rama though, no ulti, no bees, no Aegis. They don't have Capriol. Still looking towards the back line to peel if I need to. I'm going to dive onto this Rama to make sure we get that kill with the Camazotz. Throw down the stun onto Kepri as well. I don't have any peel up for the boys, unfortunately. All my abilities are down. I am looking for the soul. Ah, the Kepri's going to get a great body block. And now Nike is actually in our Titan room. Just couldn't quite win that fight. We were actually really close to making that fight happen right there. About as close as we could have hoped for without actually winning it. But by the end of this one, we still did make it to 32 minutes, even though we honestly probably should have lost this game in like 22 minutes. And part of the reason why we held on is just build optimization, making sure that their Rama and Soul were getting block stacks against us with high anemia, making sure that we had the Shell block stacks, making sure that we had the anti-attack speed plus attack speed. And if we were to buy a final item that game, I would have replaced my cooldown boots with another item that also provided cooldown. With the red pot on that build, I still had 40% CDR. So I would have replaced it for something like a spirit robe, like a mantle of discord, something a little bit more selfish that also maybe gave me something like mitigations, that gave me something like the cooldown. And so we still did 15,000 damage and 40k mitigated, guys, and that is your Fafnir.